Um, think about the last time you utterly dismantled someone's argument with, cold, hard facts.
Right.
You laid out the data perfectly. The logic was just airtight. You had the charts, the historical precedents, the indisputable
Yeah,
proof.
you had everything lined up.
Exactly. And what happened? They didn't change their mind.
Yeah.
In fact, if they are like most people, they probably doubled down.
They almost always do.
Yeah. Their original beliefs somehow grew even stronger. And today, we are looking at why that is not a glitch in human psychology.
No, not at all.
It is actually our brain's operating system working flawlessly. We are going to just sort of quietly observe a deeply human structure today, why people do not change their beliefs, and why divided realities seemingly never converge.
It is a profound phenomenon, really, and to truly understand it, I mean, we have to step back from the usual frustrations we feel in those moments.
Yeah, that frustration is so real, though.
It is. But we are drawing today from two very grounded philosophical frameworks. We have reflective humanism, specifically the core fields model, and a structural analysis known as the N78 thesis on belief fixation.
Right.
But our goal here is not to solve a societal problem or debate who is right or wrong. Our mission is simply to observe the mechanics of how a belief is built, maintained, and just fiercely protected.
I think we've all been in that position, perhaps on both sides of the table, honestly. You bring the data, and it is as if the data itself is just bouncing off an invisible shield. It honestly feels like trying to update a computer's software by just yelling at the monitor.
That is a perfect analogy.
You're expending all this energy, but the system you were trying to interface with is not even designed to receive the input in that way.
That analogy of the computer monitor is incredibly precise for what we are exploring, because when we see someone refuse to accept new, valid information, we tend to view it as a failure of their reasoning.
Right, we think they're just being stubborn.
Exactly. We think, oh, they just aren't processing the logic. But if we look at the structural analysis, we are actually witnessing the highly successful operation of an underlying cognitive operating system.
The inner cognitive OS.
Yes. Humans possess an innate, deeply rooted drive to preserve consistency.
Yeah.
The primary function of this system is not to seek objective, universal truth.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, its primary function is to safeguard its existing models and to stabilize its predictions of the world.
Wait, I want to push back on that a little bit.
Sure.
Surely that cannot be true for everything. Like, if I touch a hot stove, I don't try to preserve a model where the stove is cold. I pull my hand back immediately.
Right.
I update my reality right then and there.
Right.
So where is the line between objective physical reality and this cognitive operating system?
Well, that is a vital distinction. Physical survival mechanisms, like pulling your hand for a hot stove, they operate on immediate sensory feedback.
Because it's biological.
Exactly. But we are talking about the conceptual frameworks we use to understand identity, society, morality, our place in the world.
The bigger picture stuff.
Right. When it comes to those complex models, the system prioritizes internal stability over external accuracy.
Internal stability.
Yeah. So when new, contradictory information enters this conceptual system, it is not evaluated on its own objective merits. Instead, it is forcibly reshaped.
Reshaped. How so?
The mind literally asks, how can I bend this new data so that it aligns with what I already know to be true?
So, to synthesize this for you listening, we are actually seeing reality as it is.
Yes.
We are actively, continuously shaping reality to fit our beliefs.
Yes.
The belief doesn't bend to reality. Reality is bent to serve the belief.
That's exactly it. And the reflective humanism framework takes this observation a step further into how consciousness actually operates.
Okay.
It argues that consciousness is not a fixed static point observing a static world. It is a recursive generation field.
A recursive generation field.
Right.
Yeah.
In this model, a belief is not a heavy object you simply put in your pocket and carry around. A belief is an interference pattern.
Oh, an interference pattern.
Yes. It is something your mind is continuously, actively generating and regenerating every single second.
Unpack that for me, because it sounds a bit abstract. How does an interference pattern relate to me holding a belief about, say, the economy or a political system?
Well, think of ripples in a pond. If you drop two stones into still water, they each create outward moving waves, right?
Right.
When those waves meet, they interact. Sometimes the peaks of the waves align and they amplify each other. That is constructive interference.
Okay, I can picture that.
And sometimes a peak meets a trough and they cancel each other out, destructive interference. Your mind is basically constantly projecting waves of meaning and prediction out into the world.
And then the world pushes back.
Exactly. When the incoming data from the world hits your projected waves, an interference pattern forms. Your mind is constantly adjusting, filtering, and projecting new waves to ensure the resulting pattern remains stable.
So you're constantly breathing life into the structure of your own reality to keep the pattern from collapsing.
You have to, otherwise the model falls apart.
That makes a lot of sense. It implies movement. It is a constant humming of mental machinery just to keep the belief intact.
Very much so.
But if our minds are constantly generating these patterns, if everything is in this state of continuous motion and adjustment, how does a belief become so completely locked in?
That's the core question.
Right. Like, how does it become a fortress that no amount of logic or external data can penetrate?
Because the system doesn't rely on just one mechanism to keep the pattern stable. It utilizes a highly sophisticated maintenance structure.
Okay.
Think of it as 3 interlocking layers of fixation, and the first of these layers is memory reconstruction.
Memory reconstruction.
Right. We do not just remember the past. We continuously reinterpret and subtly rewrite our memories to support our present beliefs.
Wait, so real-time editing of the past.
Yeah.
If I adopt a new belief today, or if an existing one is suddenly challenged by an outside argument, my cognitive system will actually reach back into the archives and alter the files.
Precisely. The past is not a static archive, it is a drafted script. If you need to defend a belief about a certain group of people or a political ideology, your mind will selectively highlight past experiences that confirm this.
And just ignore the rest.
It will completely obscure or reinterpret memories that contradict it. The memory is forced to act as a foundational justification for what you need to believe right now.
That is almost unsettling to think about.
It is, yeah.
The idea that our own memories are drafted into service to protect our current worldview. But memory alone feels a bit cold, almost clinical. I mean, we have all seen people defend their beliefs with intense, fiery passion, not just a recited history. There is a deeply personal energy to it.
And that brings us to the second layer, which provides that exact energetic core emotional binding.
Emotional binding.
In our framework, interference isn't just cognitive. It is the meeting point between emotion and necessity. Emotion provides the fear-energetic force required to justify the belief and bind meaning to the raw data.
Ah, so it fuels the whole machine.
Exactly. When someone presents an argument that touches a core belief, it doesn't just trigger a logical check, it triggers a profound emotional response.
Because their survival feels threatened.
Right. The survival of that internal model feels inherently tied to the individual's emotional equilibrium.
Which explains why these arguments get so heated. You aren't just attacking their logic or their data points.
No, not at all.
You're attacking their emotional safety. You are threatening the stability of how they feel about the world.
Exactly.
Okay, so my memory is rewritten to justify the belief, and my emotions are providing the energy to defend it. But surely, if I am totally isolated in this distorted view, reality will eventually break through.
You would think so.
I mean, a single person holding a completely walled-off view of the world usually hits a wall eventually.
They do, which is why the structure relies heavily on external stabilization. That is the third layer, social belonging.
Of course, the tribe.
Yes. The pressure to conform, the deep human need to belong to a community, a tribe, or a shared narrative.
So the group keeps you in check.
Once a belief is anchored by reconstructed memory and fueled by emotional binding, social belonging locks the door from the outside.
Wow. Lock the door from the outside.
To change the belief, to accept the new data, would mean risking exile from the group that shares your internal model.
So memory, emotion, and social belonging. When you stack those three together, you can see why mere facts don't stand a chance.
They really do.
It's a beautifully or perhaps terrifyingly robust system. But it also sounds exhausting.
It requires a lot of energy.
If the mind is working this hard to constantly reshape reality, what happens when the gap between the belief and the actual physical world gets too wide?
That friction is what the reflective humanism text calls transparent pain.
Transparent pain. I want to ground that concept because it sounds poetic, but I know we are talking about a structural mechanism here.
Right.
I'm trying to picture that friction. Is it like that sudden stomach-dropping sensation you get when you realize a foundational assumption you hold about a loved one might be completely wrong, like that deep physical anxiety?
Yes, that physiological anxiety is the exact manifestation of transparent pain. It is the friction that occurs when our linear, tightly controlled internal operating system violently clashes with the nonlinear, highly unpredictable outer world.
Because the world doesn't care about our models.
Exactly. The world is chaotic. It presents us with constant, undeniable contradictions, but our internal system desperately wants order and consistency.
So they just smash into each other.
When those two realities collide, it creates a psychological phase difference. The pain is transparent because we often don't recognize it as a structural failure. We just feel an intense, localized distress.
And how does the cognitive operating system respond to that distress?
By doing whatever it takes to escape the friction. And here's the key mechanism to avoid this transparent pain. We lock down our beliefs even tighter.
We just refuse to see it.
We completely refuse the update to spare ourselves the agony of the structural collision.
This is a crucial distinction for you to reflect on as you listen. It's not simply that a belief doesn't change because a person is just being stubborn or obtuse. No.
Through these three layers, the real-time editing of memory, the intense, energetic binding of emotion, and the threat of losing social belonging, and driven entirely by the avoidance of transparent pain, a belief structurally becomes an object of maintenance.
An object of maintenance, yes.
It is actively rendered unchangeable. Any disconfirming evidence you present to someone isn't ignored. It is actively absorbed, metabolized, and used as raw material to reinforce the walls of their internal model.
The evidence meant to destroy the structure is simply repurposed to sustain it.
That is wild.
The system looks at the attack and says, see? The world is exactly as hostile and confusing as I predicted. I must hold this belief even closer.
If we take this mechanism and scale it up from the individual mind, I want you to think about the deeply fractured society we are living in right now. We look around and see a world that feels irreparably divided. We see factions that cannot even agree on basic foundational facts.
It's everywhere. If everyone is individually locked into this cycle of belief maintenance, is that what we are seeing on a macro level? Is society just a massive collection of isolated maintenance structures bumping into each other?
Yes, but we have to be very precise with our language here. Society isn't simply divided.
Oh, really?
The word divided implies that there is a single reality, a single pie, that has been chopped into pieces. But because of this deep fixation phase, we are actually living in parallel realities.
Parallel realities.
We are observing the coexistence of entirely different, fully self-sustaining belief systems occupying the exact same physical space.
Parallel realities. Let's really look at what that actually means in practice. I mean, it is like two people sitting down at the exact same table.
Yeah.
One person is playing chess, the other person is playing poker.
Oh, I like that.
But both of them are absolutely unequivocally convinced that they are playing the exact same game. The chess player moves a knight and says check. The poker player throws down 3 chips and says, I raise. They are using different rules, different pieces, different metrics for what victory even looks like, yet they are shouting across the table at each other, furious that the other person refuses to play by the rules.
That is a brilliant illustration of the structural problem. And it beautifully explains why standard dialogue, the way we normally conceive of it, completely fails to connect these realities.
Because they aren't even playing the same game.
When two opposing sides sit down to talk, we like to imagine it is an exchange of information. We think we are trading data points.
Right.
But according to the structural analysis, it is not an exchange at all. It is the collision of two belief maintenance structures.
Because the chess player isn't giving the poker player new information about poker. They're just attacking the validity of poker entirely.
Exactly. And when these two structures collide, the result is categorized as discontinuous generation.
Discontinuous generation.
When parallel realities meet in this way, the phase difference, the gap between the waves we talked about earlier, is just too steep. The gradient is too sharp.
So it breaks.
The interference doesn't create a new, harmonious pattern. It creates a violent collision. This forces a painful reactive response from the cognitive operating system.
It's too much friction.
It is a sudden, harsh friction that the system immediately tries to reject.
It's that transparent pain manifesting in real-time dialogue. You throw a chess piece at my poker chips, and my system experiences that as an attack on my reality, so I just build the wall higher.
Yes. Discontinuous generation results in a total rejection of the update. The mind leaps away from the friction by doubling down on its original position.
Wow.
The opposite of this, which the philosophical framework suggests as a method of true observation, is continuous generation.
Let's explore that. What does continuous generation actually look like?
What?
Like, if standard dialogue is a collision, How does continuous generation differ? Let's go back to our players at the table.
Okay.
If I am the chess player, and I want to use continuous generation to communicate with the person throwing poker chips on my board, what do I actually say to them?
Continuous generation relies on the gradient of the question rather than the gradient of evaluation. Instead of a sharp collision of statements, it is a gentle unfolding process.
So I don't attack their move.
Right. If you are the chess player, you don't yell, "That's an illegal knight move. That is an evaluation that forces a collision." Instead, you ask, "I see you are using chips. What do those chips represent in your strategy?"
So by using open inquiry, by asking questions, without the immediate intent to destroy the other person's model,
Yeah.
I am keeping the interference field open.
Exactly. The gradient remains gentle. You are minimizing the pain of friction.
Yeah.
You are allowing the cognitive system to quietly adjust its angle over time without triggering the massive defense mechanisms of the maintenance structure.
Was going slow.
You aren't forcing them to abandon their reality all at once. You are slowly exploring the boundaries of it together.
It is the difference between trying to shatter a wall with a wrecking ball, which, as we've learned, only makes the defenders pour more concrete, and simply standing beside the wall, looking at it together, asking how it was built, until the defenders realize they might not need the wall at all.
That is the essence of it, yeah. Standard dialogue fails because it is a collision of certainties. Continuous generation has the potential to succeed, however slowly, because it is the shared, calm observation of a structure.
This brings us to a place of quiet reflection. I want to speak directly to you listening right now. Take a moment to think about your own deeply held convictions.
The core ones.
The ones that form the absolute core of how you see the world, your politics, your morality. Think about the last time those specific views were challenged.
It's hard to do.
It is. In that moment of friction, in that moment of transparent pain, were you truly evaluating reality? Or were you simply maintaining your internal structure? Were you looking at the world, or were you frantically protecting the blueprints of your own cognitive fortress?
It is an incredibly difficult, almost uncomfortable level of self-observation to engage in.
Really uncomfortable.
But stepping back to observe our own maintenance structures is the necessary first step, the framework's outline for moving beyond these parallel realities.
And as we draw this deep dive to a close, honoring the strict philosophical boundaries of our source material, we cannot offer you a neat, tidy resolution.
There isn't one.
No. There is no simple life hack to bypass the inner cognitive OS. Instead, we must end by posing the ultimate question derived from these observations.
Right.
If reality isn't actually being updated in our minds, if we are constantly actively reshaping the world to fit our internal models, then what exactly are we protecting?
We are protecting the belief itself. The structure has become more important than the truth it was originally built to hold.
If we are just protecting the structural consistency of our own beliefs, at what exact moment, under what impossible pressure, does that fixation finally break? And when that structure collapses, what kind of reality is left waiting for us in the silence?
Well, that is the question.
Thank you for joining us in this space of observation today. We will leave you with that silence, honoring the ethics of distance and contemplation. Until next time.